Paragon's jungle in version 43 is a little bit of a mess. In this video I'm going to give you some little extra tips to help you in the jungle and my opinion of where the future of the jungle in Paragon should go. So let's get right into it. So overall right now the jungle is probably as bland as it's been. With Epic removing Amber Link means there's hardly any mechanics for the jungler to use right now, the one only being like green buff and the river buff. The way they've changed the minion camps as well to have one big minion and then two small ones also punishes you for trying to gank, because that means that you're going to be losing the big minion farm. If you don't know what I mean, it means the big minions will always spawn if there's no little minions in the jungle camp. Big minions are worth 3 times what a little minion would give you, meaning if you don't kill the big minion then a small minion will spawn, meaning you will be losing extra CXP and hero level experience for missing that. That means it's almost a bit hard and punishing for junglers to try and gank or do something thinking, hang on, if I don't kill this big jungle minion that means a small one's going to spawn and that means I won't be as efficient with my farm in. Again, that's a problem you don't want to have for the jungle role. Now with jungle camps spawning every 90 seconds, it means you definitely have to kill the big minions as fast as possible again, or you feel like you're going to lose out on the big farm, and not being able to kill them fast enough early on means you'll mostly stay in the jungle instead of ganking more. It's not really the jungler's fault as much as a design issue. So how you would start the jungle now is you would probably kill 2 big minions and then rotate to the jungle buff, because that's when the jungle buff will spawn. You would get the jungle buff so you don't take as much damage, because the big minions do quite a big amount of damage now. You do it so you can take down the rest of the minions until 3 minutes pops up. Once 3 minutes pops up, you get the river buff and try to gank. If you aren't able to gank, or you think it's not worth it, then by this time then the big minions will be respawning again, and you don't want to waste time because you want to farm the big minions because they give you more experience. And then you go back to the strong side to farm them again, and then you forget about the offlane side, and it's just, you know, it's just not that healthy. It's not healthy. As a person who mains the jungle a significant amount of time in version 42 and version 41, I can definitely tell you it's definitely not healthy, and Epic are fully aware of this. Before people say they are aware of this, I am fully aware that Epic are aware of the jungle issues. They've said the jungle's not in a good state and it's too stale, and they are experimenting with some new mechanics they may add to the jungle, which is always a good thing. But more in this video I'm going to be talking about again a few more of the negatives and what I think should be the jungle, what the jungle should be in Paragon, not comparing it to other MOBAs but just Paragon itself. So another issue I've had is with counter jungling. It needs to be back in the game. Ever since version 42 has come around, it's really hard as a mid laner or as the jungler to try and counter jungle the other jungler, because it's pretty much impossible because they're always going to be full health. For example, in version 41, if I know the enemy had a Sevarog jungling, I knew, because how hard it was to kite, that around the 2 to 3 minute mark, they're going to be really low. So as a mid laner, I would sometimes maybe push and try and counter jungle that Sevarog while they're very weak. But if I was against a Chimera, I would know there wouldn't be much point counter jungling, and that makes it more of a unique experience again for the jungler and mid lane role. Now you don't have any of that at all. So what can be done about the jungle? Well, since version 42 has come out, the philosophy and the idea is that you can pretty much build any hero anyway with all the opening up the affinities, with all the new card choices. It's like, hey, you can play a really stealthy Grux, or you can play a really tanky Grux. You have a lot more options there. However, it doesn't matter what kind of jungler build you're going for, you're always going to farm right now the jungle in the same way, which is the problem. Now, I don't want them to add like 4 to 5 new mechanics and make it a bit too overcomplicated, because that's not what you want. You need to streamline it but still make mechanics friendly for people to understand, like the Amber Link was, but maybe they thought it just wasn't getting the effect they wanted to, but they still have to implement extra buffs to the game. So some examples I wanted to give is, say for example, I am building a tanky Grux, and in the jungle I have options of saying, hey, now I can take objective 1, objective 2, or try and get the river buff. Each one gives me benefits. I also can tell, and again if my mid laner helps me, to get vision on the enemy jungler what sort of route they're going as well. Maybe one gives you an extra speed buff when in the river to help gank, then the river buff maybe gives you actual experience instead. There's so many options here that they can lively up. It's really hard to give like examples of what I would actually implement, but stuff that makes the jungle unique, that you want to play the jungle differently depending on what role you want to play. Maybe sometimes you want to go to the weak side of the jungle first because there's a certain buff there, and maybe try to really early gank the off lane as you have a strong off lane hero like say Greystone, and you want to try and gank that off lane as soon as possible. I also think they should definitely do something with Raptors. Raptors right now is just really weak ever since version 42 came out. It just gives you more gold, and most times it can be soloed by a correct jungle build, and that's not really fun at all. I think it needs some sort of buff, and you know, back in Legacy we had the black buff, which means you could do more damage to towers. I don't think that should return, but I definitely feel there should be some sort of buff, some sort of reward for the team, and most importantly the jungler, to make more team fights around happen at the Raptors. Before version 42 it always was. The 1006 XP bonus for killing Raptors, and I think it was nerfed a little bit over time, was a huge bonus, especially for the carry, and everyone would rotate over to make sure their carry could get that extra experience. Right now, maybe because carries aren't that strong, but overall I just feel the Raptors is a wasted opportunity, and they really need to do something with those Raptors, add a buff to them for the team. Maybe the team gets an aura, or just overall more worthwhile. But basically what I'm trying to summarize in here is that they need to have more options for the jungle, so it doesn't matter what kind of hero or what kind of style I'm playing, I always have certain strategies I can go. Maybe I want to stay and farm, and it has big benefits in the jungle for about 5 minutes instead of trying to gank, or maybe I want to get certain objectives to help my team out. But the thing is, right now, like I said, a stealthy Kalari who's jungling and a tanky Rampage pretty much farm the jungle in the same way. This Kalari will take more damage and probably has to back more and won't be as efficient early game, but still they farm the jungle in exactly the same way. Doesn't matter what their builds are or how they're meant to play, and that's a problem. And that's something they need to resolve, and I hope Epic does, because this is the biggest problem in the jungle, and really has always been in the jungle, is every single time Epic tried to change the jungle, it seems that it doesn't matter what role or anything style you want to play, you still have to do the jungle in exactly the same way. You farm, get the green buff as soon as possible, rotate around and mess around till 3 minutes, get the jungle buff, get the river buff, and then try to gank. If you can't gank, go to the offlane side, again farm, and if you can't help the offlane back, rinse and repeat that process, get river buff when it's up, and then try to gank. That's really it. I would love to see, you know, maybe 1 or 2 more objectives and an upgraded Raptor version to make it more worthwhile for junglers to think, okay, it's actually worth me going to the offlane side first because there's a specific buff there. Or maybe we want to counter jungle the enemy jungler to nick one of their buffs, because I know they're the type of hero that would really benefit from that buff, so taking it away from them will be a huge advantage for us. For example, maybe there's a buff that increases your gold from killing jungle minions, and there's a Sevrog, and you're thinking we don't want the Sevrog to get too farmed up because they're weak early game, and that means that if they're going to get this buff, it's going to really help them out. So maybe you work as a team to nick that buff, so that means that Sevrog player is going to struggle to actually get to these mid to late game. But that's just a few ideas I'm like sort of spitballing out, but I want to know your guys' opinions. What do you think needs to change for the jungle? Again, Epic knows stuff needs to change, and we're fully aware they need to change, but I'm interested to see what you guys have as an opinion, as these are just a few ideas I had, not really concrete ideas, but sort of like the style the jungle needs to have in the game, and that's just my opinion of it. So, thank you all very much for watching, and I will probably be doing more legit, as you could say, Paragon videos once version 43.3 comes out, and I play the game again after it's a bit more balanced. But again, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.